Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Actionable podcast. Today, I am so excited because I brought you in Nikki Fain. Nikki is a project and social media consultant who helps businesses streamline operations, manage teams efficiently, and build social media strategies that convert. With a background as a virtual assistant, also known as VA, she now empowers entrepreneurs to grow their businesses and maintain balance and stay productive. Now, as someone with ADHD who runs her own business, I have so many questions for Nikki. I can't wait for her to join the conversation today. So keep on watching. If you do also need some help from a BA, let's pick her brain and see what she's got in store for us.
Welcome to the Actionable podcast. I'm Nikki, and here we'll talk about business, freelance, mindset, education, mental health, life, personal growth, and everything to help you overcome your fears, know yourself, and create the life and career of your dreams. Episodes in English and Spanish every week.
Nikki, thank you for coming to the podcast. I'm so happy to have you here. I have so many questions. Now,
and I'm happy to answer. I'm excited to be here.
I'm really excited to have you on. And for people listening who probably don't know who you are, can you give them a reason to say, like, what do you think they're going to learn throughout this episode? So if they don't know you right off the bat, what should they say?
I can help you scale your business in so many different ways, to organizing chaos. I've been called the queen of chaos, organized chaos, through projects, through social media, through onboarding teams, managing teams. I help all kind of different businesses scale in their own unique ways. Each client, each project is so different, and it's so fun to learn and explore. And honestly, those aha moments or that sigh of relief from business owners is what it's all about. So,
yeah, I love that. Now, Nikki, this question for me is just like running my own business on my own is just so hard. And I know that for you, when working with solopreneurs, you told me off camera that you work with solopreneurs, that you also work with big brands, six-figure brands. So I do feel like in reality, most entrepreneurs, and I feel like we all do in a way, struggle with kind of like the same thing. So like just that feeling of overwhelm, especially when it comes to managing projects. Oh man, I feel that. And especially social media. And I know you have experience with that. So as a VA, I know that you're also an you said OB as well.
I am a consultant with project and social media. However, it is not the same as an OBM, but it's a lot alike an OBM, especially with the operation side. So OBM is the online business manager. So they oversee everything. But it also depends on the actual client. It depends, like I was saying, each client, each company, each system is so unique, especially if it's a small business. You can structure it however you want. It's so different than corporate. So you can have so many levels of team members, management. It really depends on how big the company is. But yeah, an OBM can fit in anywhere, along as what I do as well, project and social media. If you just need help on the project side, I'm here for it. And if you just need help on social media, I'm here for it as well. But a lot of people don't realize too that they also correlate with each other. So 9 times out of 10, whenever you're doing a project such as launching webinars, workshops, you have to have marketing. There is no way to get around not having marketing for it to be successful. So with that, they do correlate. It just depends on what you need. If you already have parts of those areas on your team, I can fit in different spaces, different areas. So yeah.
Yeah. So the question pretty much what I wanted to ask you. So either as a BA or OBM, what are some advices that you have for business owners to streamline these areas and avoid burnout, especially when it comes to social media? Now that there's YouTube Shorts, there's Reels, there's TikTok, there's so many places to be in. What's like a good streamline that you would give, let's say, to a medium-sized entrepreneur, and then you could maybe build 3 buyer personas if you wanted to? Like, how would you streamline for each of those? Like, let's say a solo business, for a medium-sized business and then a bigger business?
So I would, number one, suggest you have to have systems in place. And you have to have those systems will help you delegate the task, whether it's to a VA or if it's to a more experienced social media consultant, marketer, um, so like a COO, if you're looking to hire someone like that, or OBM, you have to have those systems in place to be able to. And my number one suggestion is having a project management tool. It doesn't matter what, as long as it works for you. That's the way to streamline everything. You have to have exactly what you need, what you want, and then delegate it. Don't try. It's okay to bring someone in and get advice or opinions or how do I go about doing this? You're the expert, not me. But you have to have them in place before you can add to your team. If not, communication is going to be an issue. Um, so you're not going to be able to communicate what you need to your person, and it's just going to build up over time, and it's going to be like a snowball effect.
Mhm.
Whereas if you had systems in place, such as a project management system, I personally like ClickUp, Notion, Asana. Um, those are ways for you to communicate with your team, for you to assign tasks to certain people. You can all collaborate as a team if you want. So everything's in one spot, and you don't
Mhm.
have so many things out there, so many different apps, so many different programs, or you don't have to worry about someone calling you on this all the time or texting you unless that's just your choice. So there's so many ways to go about it, but no matter how big, how small that you are, I am a one-man show, one-woman show. I use ClickUp for myself just to keep myself organized, and when I am able to bring on somebody to my team, I'm waiting on a certain somebody to retire to bring to my team, I will be able to bring her in ClickUp, add her to my team, and assign her tasks. So my system's already set up. It's just waiting for the right time to add that person. Um, and another thing that I always recommend to someone is creating those SOPs. That way, whenever you are ready to add to your team, or if you're bringing on someone new, you already have those steps that what fonts do you like? What's in your brand kit? What's in, how do you like your emails to look? That person can take your instructions, your SOP, and implement it without having to really bother you. Unless there's just a certain question that they have or a certain suggestion maybe that they have. So those are very important, and a lot of people overlook those steps, but they're important for a successful team building aspect.
Yeah, I feel that. And actually, that was one of the questions that I had for you. Like, what's one of your managing tools, that one of your favorite ones? And I was like, oh, is it Asana? Is it Monday? Is it ClickUp? Now you mentioned ClickUp. Is there a reason why that's your favorite tool?
I feel that it is budget friendly, and it is easily, you can make it as simple or as complicated as you want. You don't have to use some more complicated features for it to work properly. Um, so for me, I have built ClickUp systems for multiple clients, and like I was telling you before, I work with a six-figure real estate agent in New York City. She uses it to keep track of her listings. Um, and I created her a template, so all she's got to do is copy and paste and move it to the correct workspace. And she can go through, and as she's walking through a listing, she can check off what's there, what's not there, what she needs to add to the listing, or she even has on there a check mark for a welcome home gift for the buyer. So she's also got a space where she can keep her notes for that certain listing, showings, what needs to be fixed, and she can also add to her calendar inspections that are going on, open houses for that specific location. So it's so versatile. Any project management system is so versatile. Um,
Yeah,
any.
they're built different now. I remember what they were
Yeah,
like a few years ago. Now you can even
yeah.
build automations and you can send emails from
Mhm.
there. Some of them even work as like
Yeah,
a CRM or like HubSpot.
yeah,
It's just crazy. But
yeah.
now something I would like to ask you
Okay.
related to social media that I had in the
Uh-huh.
back of my head. Like I need to ask her this.
Yeah,
Um, so you manage social media as well, right? Or you did that?
I
Okay.
do.
Now,
I do it
oh
still.
yeah. Do you have, now that we're
Yeah.
talking about tools, then we're going to move into a
Uh-huh.
different topic, but now that we're talking about tools, do you have any particular tool that you like to, for
Oh my goodness,
posting,
yes.
especially for reels? Because I'm like, today I was thinking about like that pain point appeared today. I was like, I want to schedule all of the podcast shorts that I have, but
Yeah.
I don't know if I can schedule them and in like add a collaborator within the scheduling posting or
Oh, okay.
tool. I don't know if there's
Yeah,
any tool out there that does it because it's
that's
something that was a
interesting.
real
I've
pain.
I've never ran into that. All of the reels that I've ever scheduled, either for myself or for clients, they've always preferred to do it within Instagram. So, same thing with editing. They have all preferred. I've used CapCut to edit a few reels, and then a client figured out that it was just distorting the reels, especially the fonts. And the wording was like shifting from one side to the other. And I'm not sure if it was just like a glitch in CapCut at the time, but I just have always used Instagram to schedule my reels and such and edit, add audio and everything. However, I love CapCut. They're different arrays of fonts, colors, transitions, those type of I really do love CapCut. Um, my other favorite, absolute favorite tool, I use it every single day, is called Loomly, Loomly. And the reason that I love them for scheduling content is you can schedule up to, that I know of, like 10 platforms at one time. Or you can, for instance, for me, the same thing I post on Instagram is posted on LinkedIn. So I put the two on the same post and just schedule them together. I love it so much. And also, I have multiple clients on my account, and they each have their own calendar that they can collaborate with me with. They can approve the post, they can make comments or edit suggestions at the bottom, and I can see what their thoughts are. I don't have to wait for a meeting, or I don't have to search through emails after emails. It's all right there. It is all right there, and I love it so much.
Wow, thank you. Now,
You're welcome.
so yeah, and when you usually schedule on Instagram, do you do it on the phone or do you do it from the computer? What do you feel is
I do it
better?
from the computer. Yeah,
Hmm.
I do it. I'm a laptop girly. Just because now if I'm on the go or I'm traveling, then if they're not already scheduled, I'm a huge advocate for scheduling in advance, especially if you're going to be out of town or you're going to be away on vacation, holidays, whatever it is. Um, Occasionally I will post on my phone, but it's very rare. I usually just do it from my laptop.
Yeah, makes more sense. Now,
Yeah.
as a consultant now, not as a VA,
Hmm.
but for those looking to hire their first VA, what do you think they need to have in place in their business first before hiring a VA? Like, when do you know it's time to hire someone to help you with all of the project managing and everything that
Yeah.
your business is struggling with?
So when you are to the point, not quite to burnout, because you don't want to get to that point, but you have to make sure you have things in place before you hire a VA and it be successful. And those are, like I was talking about, systems. You have to have a system in place. It doesn't matter if you're hiring a beginner VA or experienced VA, if you're hiring an OBM like COO, it doesn't matter. You have to have a system in place. The next thing would be you have to make sure that your budget is on point to be able to afford this person. Inexperience as a VA, I have had it to where the person was so giddy, so excited to be able to hire someone, but did not realize, oh my goodness, life can throw curveballs, business can throw curveballs, and they didn't have the budget set aside to keep me at my retainer. So that is another major aspect that you have to make sure you have, because not only are you paying your bills as well, but they need to pay theirs. The third thing would be you have to have that communication. You have to have the respect for each other. Um, like boundaries is a big thing, and making sure that when you assign that VA something, you are respecting their work. Give them implement or appropriate feedback in a mannerful timeline. And that's something that you can agree on with that person as to how long they get you your items or how long it takes you to give feedback. So those are my top. I could go on and on, but those are my top aspects of hiring a VA just from experience.
No, it makes a lot of sense because I feel like, yeah, like you said, especially like small businesses that want to grow, and it's great that they're growing and that they're onboarding people, and that's key to their growth. But
Yeah.
sometimes maybe they're overlooking that because they're like, maybe they're all over the place and they don't realize that they cannot keep you at your retainer. I mean, we don't do the same thing. I'm a marketer, but it's kind of like the same thing, and that's why I feel like having a VA or an EA or anyone who's just overlooking at everything makes so much sense because like they usually will be the people telling you, yes, you can afford to hire a fractional CMO, you can afford
Yeah.
to hire a copywriter or a designer or whatever the business needs to grow. But yeah, that makes so much sense. Now, Nikki, I do have a question that is related to the social media, and then I promise I'm going to move off of that because I feel
No,
like that's one of the
good.
things. I feel like that's, or at least for my clients, it's one of the things that take the most time, social media, because they're very heavily based on social media because we're talking about like influence and stuff like that. So that's a big part of the big chunk of their business. But in today's fast-paced world, so being present in social media is very time consuming, but it's important and it's just vital for your business if you're heavily based on your presence on social media, especially like I said, if you're the face of your business. How
Yeah.
do you usually approach this for so that your clients aren't overwhelmed because they'll have to film content, they'll have to show their face? What's usually one thing that you tell them like, hey, this is a way you can systematize this, or you can maybe find a system to record the content so you don't have to become overwhelmed, but at the same time we have you in the business because you're a huge part of it.
Yeah. So one thing I always suggest clients do, obviously, is to work with me and they being involved in their content planning. So I always suggest, and I do this for myself, I pick a topic for the month. So, for example, in January, I focused on my content on how project management and social media correlate together. So that was the pillars of my emails that go out weekly, along with my content. So a lot of people think when they hear social media, you need to post, you need to do engagement, you need to post on stories, and their mind starts spiraling. It's like you've lost them. You can forget any other thought after that. And what I always break down for my clients is let's look at your time. What does your time periods look like? Do you have room to film the content? And another thing that I suggest is, like I was saying, pick a topic for the month. Let's repurpose what you've got. What are you already doing for this week? So, for instance, you have a podcast. So, your podcast content for that's going to be posted, say, on Monday, could be used for your newsletter, for your blog post, and then also your Instagram, your LinkedIn post, your Facebook post, your thread post, your Instagram stories, reels, like all of the things. But you do not have to post on every single platform every single day because I promise you, everybody's not going to see all of that. Um, So for me, I repurposed my newsletter for that week. This week it was all about mindset of project launching, and that gears towards what I was telling you before, the workshop series that I just launched. And the mindset is the first pillar. So that is what I am focusing on for the rest of this month, and so is my content. Um, so I like to do a mix of educational, like why is mindset important with project planning. I like to do spicy, like it's not going to do it itself. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get your stuff out there, kind of tone of voice. And I also like to incorporate stories, either whether it be client stories or my own stories. In my newsletter, I included a story of I almost did not launch my very first session last year because I was so overwhelmed by it, but I did it anyway. Um, so just a mix of things to keep it fresh and keep it interesting, because not only do you as a client want to be engaged in the content, but so you want everyone else to be too. So I always suggest sitting down with your social media consultant, manager, what have you, map out your month, your content. I post one Instagram post a week. I repurpose that to LinkedIn the next day. I also post on Threads once or twice a day. It just depends on what's going on. Stories, I try to make sure I'm in there every day. Reels, I post 2 or 3 times a week. So it all depends on the client or what their niche is, but it's you can work out a plan that works for you and have you be able to batch out content in advance instead of doing the day of, because I promise those day of posts 9 times out of 10 aren't gonna there's no value in it because it is so last minute.
Yeah. Now you mentioned talking when talking about social media and talking about the
Mhm.
marketing team, and for some of your clients, I imagine that you have there's more people involved in the team for sure. What's if you have any team management tips that you would like to share, like, because I know that team management is key to growing a business, especially if you have like cross-functional teams. That is so hard, and it can grow, like especially if you have people working from different parts of the world with or different time zones.
Oh my goodness.
It is so complicated, but it's so important to keep them aligned if you want to grow the business, because the team needs to work as a team. So, what are some tips that you have to keep teams aligned, especially when it comes to cross-functional teams or teams that are
Yeah.
scattered around the world with different time zones?
Oh my goodness. So I think my number one tip would be you have to have that standard of communication, like really expectations. Like you expect certain types of communication. Um, if you have due dates set for those people, like you have to set that standard of this is what I expect. And if you run into anything, please let me know. Do not hesitate to ask or ask for help from your team members, or if you need clarification on anything. It's good to have that relationship of you're not kind of micromanaging, but you set those expectations. You don't want to let that person down. You don't want to um, let your team down, really. And another that I have is make sure you're setting aside time to actually meet with your team, even if they are across different time zones. There are so many ways to configure that. Even if it's getting up early to meet with that person or staying up late to meet with that person, just making sure you're making that effort to engage with your team and not just throwing out due dates and projects and all of these expectations, but they truly don't know who they're working for or with. Um, so for me, for example, I had a client, love her so much. She inspired me a lot last year to do what I'm doing now. We set aside time to just chit chat with each other, get to know each other. We learned a lot about each other. Um, and even to this day, we chatted yesterday on the phone just for an hour talking about life and things going on in our businesses. And that makes a world of difference. a lot of people do better in a team when you have that cohesion and that relationship to respect. I think that makes a difference.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like when you make friends, let's say in a way, make friends with the people in the team, you do work better. But as someone with ADHD and autism, I will not lie to you. Every time I do have a call, I'm really time efficient, but you add a call in my calendar and my day is not going to be the same. I could work for like, usually people say like, most of my clients are like, wow, you're so freaking fast. And so, most of the times I just say like, because we didn't have any meetings today. That's why it was fast. And then other days it's just like, it's a complete different day, and I had a lot of meetings, and my productivity is terrible because I am a creative, and I feel like that also happens. And I know that because I have many friends who are developers and creatives. We hate meetings. It's just like it destroys your creative juice. So if you're running a company that is heavily based in those two things, like marketing and development, how do you think, or from what you've seen, do you think would work better? Because on the one side, yes, you do want to have that team building, and at the same time, you also want to allow people time to focus on execution. And for some people, really, the goal is just like, I was telling you off camera, like I was just thinking, like, oh, I need to hop on this call, I need to hop on this call, and it's every time that I see a meeting, I'm like, I need to hop on this call, and I cannot do anything but before the call, which is why I'm like, oh, the podcast. I love podcasting, but my thread went viral, and now I have a call every single day. I'm like, I'm going mad. I kid you not. So what are some tips that you have for people like me and for companies who have people like me? Because there are too many out there.
Honestly, I would suggest something like a community forum, maybe, and there's so many platforms. So I'm going to use one as an example is Slack. So if you use Slack in your business already, you can make like a channel that's just for chit chatting. If you feel like getting on there and asking, for instance, I'm on a community coaching group with a bunch of friends of mine, and we're seriously friends. We don't work together. We refer each other out, but we will get on there and just chit chat. We'll have days where we're having a rough day, and we go on there and talk about that, or we'll go and celebrate wins of like I hired a client today, or a client hired me, and this is my highest retainer ever, and just having a space for those. And you don't necessarily have to get on a call to celebrate or do anything of the sort. Or if anything's going on in life, like you have a family member in the hospital, or you are having issues with your kids, or your husband, something's going on with your husband with his work, or whatever it may be, it's not work. It's personal. You have a group of friends that you can chat with and share life with. Because, like I said, making those personal connections for me is all what it's about. It's not about the money. It's not about um, the highest paying retainer or anything like that. It's seriously making those connections. For instance, the client I had a call with today to check in, she's a project client of mine, and she was hurt on her trip last week. And that's the first thing that came out of my mouth when we hopped on the Zoom call. How are you? How's your knee? What did the doctor say? And then we talked about business.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. It's the personal relationships. And I really think having some type of community forum, whether it's through, like I said, any software that you use, or if you have and going back to what you were saying about meetings, like I would make those optional. If you want to come, or if that's too intimidating for you, you don't have to.
And how do you find those communities? Sorry that I interrupted you, but I'm like, sounds super interesting. It's just like, where do these people meet?
So the group that I am is actually part of a coaching program, but it doesn't feel like a coaching program, if that makes sense. I found her on Instagram, but I do know that there's Facebook groups like that, and honestly, the best way to go about finding those are threads, I think, like posting, "Hey, I'm looking to connect with," um, for example, for me, it would be other moms, other entrepreneurs, other stay-at-home moms, work-from-home moms, whatever that looks like for you. It's something that you could just post on threads and get recommendations for.
Wow.
Um,
So many
a
people
lot of
are
people in our group
networking.
have done that.
So many people are networking through threads. Like,
Yeah, it's
I
awesome.
learned that not long ago because that post went kind of
Yeah,
viral, and now I talk to people and they're all like, "Yeah, I met this person on threads." And I'm like, wow,
yeah,
it's the place to be finding your connections. Apparently,
it
did you
is.
find
It
any
seems like
clients
a more
through threads?
low-key kind of place.
Yeah.
Say
Yeah.
again?
Have you found any clients yet, or just community?
Yes. No, I'm actually meeting with, my first client tomorrow to
Wow.
discuss our working relationship. So yeah, but I find that you have to be really engaging on threads to make those connections and those type of landing those type of clients. Because you definitely can't comment on a post that has, like, thousands of comments already and expect to get the job. That's not how that works, or I have found that it does not work that way. But
Yeah, no.
threads is awesome, I think.
That's interesting. Now, before we close off, I just want to throw you like a rapid fire questionnaire, if you don't mind.
Okay. No, I don't mind.
Okay. So, Nikki, what's one mistake entrepreneurs make when trying to scale their business, and how can they avoid it? Usually, what you see, like top three things that come to your head.
Oh, goodness. Self-doubt is one, and really planning poorly to
Mhm.
get those ideas, thoughts out there. Um, and the third thing is really their systems. Like, some people don't put any system in place, and it's chaos, and it's sporadic, and it just does not work out. Um, yeah, that's just my experience with that, and honestly, that's what all I'm gonna be talking about in my new series.
Interesting. Now you can tell me more about that. Keep that because I just
I
don't
will.
get it.
No, you're good. You keep going.
What are the first steps that someone should take when planning a project that seems too overwhelming? You know, one of those like, when the cables are entangled and you're like, where do I start? What are some tips that you can give people when this feels unmanageable? What do I do?
Start with your idea. What is your basic idea? And then from there, what components of that idea. So for me, it's like a pyramid system. Start with your basic idea at the top. For instance, if it's launching a workshop series, okay, what components of that workshop series do you want to talk about? How do they correlate? Are they going to be under the same umbrella? And then from there, start building out what all each entails. What do you need to do for each pillar? Or um, for instance, if it's designing a course, okay, what's your course? What's your topic? What under that course are you going to be talking about? What are your chapters? What are your modules going to be about? So taking everything, even if it's the same applies with social media, take your idea for the month, build it out. What do you want to talk about under each thing? And go from there. It doesn't have to it when you look at it all out there or all in your mind, it is so overwhelming, but when you start to write things out and categorize them where they need to go, prioritize them, prioritize tasks that go with them, then it all kinda works itself out, and as long as you plan in advance for things, then it doesn't seem so overwhelming, so time consuming. You can take, "Oh, I've got 30 minutes at lunch today. I'm going to pick this thing and I'm going to get it done. Mark it off the list and keep going. So those are my tips, and it can apply to any niche, any situation, any company, any person. So that's what I have found that helps, is just breaking everything down.
Wow. Now this one's
it's not rapid, but that answered.
It's okay. You're living in a camper now. You're building your house. You are a stay-at-home mom. You're taking care of your kids. You run your own business. I feel like you're the queen of work-life balance. How do you do it, and what's one game-changing tip that you have that you found worked for you?
My number one tip, and I know I sound repetitive, is my system. I have a system in place. So a part of my system is my schedule. So every week does not look the same. Every day does not look the same. They're similar, but not the same. So I make sure, for example, on Fridays, I plan for my next week. I look at my schedule. How can I time block Monday? How can I time block Tuesday? My newsletters go out on Monday mornings. So on Friday before, I go ahead and write the newsletter, put whatever pictures I want on the newsletter, get it scheduled to go out. And then from there, I plan my content. So I basically set myself up for the week, because you never know what the week's gonna bring, whether it's a sick kiddo, a sick caregiver, just somebody needs something done at our property that I need to go run and do real quick. You never know what life throws at you. So if I can take care of what I know is happening, then I go ahead and take care of it. And I also, speaking of time blocks, I know that sounds crazy or so robotic, but I assign a time block to a certain client. So I know X, Y, and Z is due on Tuesday. So on Monday, I'm going to set my time block to that particular client so I can make sure everything is done for that Tuesday due date. So I really am in tune with my calendar, and I'm also in tune with my project management system to make sure that I'm staying on track and that my time is being used wisely, because I don't have a lot of it. I have just maybe 2 hours a day in collective to be able to do what I need to do for my business. And the rest of it is taking care of kids, planning a house, working with my husband on that, and dealing with camper life.
Yeah, I can imagine. That sounds like a lot, but you're doing it. So and someday it's gonna end. You're gonna finish your house, and camper life will be just another chapter in your life. But now, I do want to ask you before I leave, because I usually like to ask this question before leaving. But before adding any other questions, I'm just so curious now. So you mentioned the money program. What is that?
The what?
The money program, is that the name? Or did I get it wrong?
Oh, the plan with purpose.
Yeah, and
my workshop series. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I want to have a look into that. Like, I want to know what that is and what your system looks like. But I feel like you already explained a lot of what your system looks like. I don't know if you want to hear anything else.
My Plan with Purpose workshop series is for those small business owners who are in that middle area of, they still need to do their planning and doing their projects on their own, but they are also in that place where they get overwhelmed, they get stuck in their head about, they don't know how to do certain parts of the project planning process, and they're not quite ready to hire someone to do it for them. Like, they still want to do it themselves. They need to do it themselves. Or I've always told my clients, like, I don't gatekeep. If you want to learn what I'm doing, I will show you 100%. I will hop on a call, show you exactly how to use ClickUp or whatever tool that you are using. and I love to share my knowledge with other people. So in this series, it'll be 5 workshops. We'll go from talking about mindset to marketing to what tools and resources could help you. And the final one is, what do you do? Like, okay, I'm at launch time. I'm ready to go. What do I need to do? Like, I'm stuck. I don't know where to go from here. And there's also a 6th bonus workshop if you purchase the bundle. And that is for, okay, I've launched, I've done it. What do I do now? What do I do after the fact? So I have found so many areas of this that other people have had issues with. They don't know, like, they have that mindset of, I can't do this, like, it's not perfect. I don't know when, like, I don't have time for this, to marketing of, I don't know how to market this. When should I start marketing this? What kind of stories should I post to engage with my audience? What emails should I send out? There's so many things that a lot of people don't think of, and they see all of it lined out and they get so overwhelmed with it. So this series breaks everything down for you, and you leave with so much knowledge to either continue doing it for yourself, or I'm a huge advocate that if you do choose to hire out this process, that you still have the knowledge to pick it up if something happens to that person, if they get sick, if they have a family emergency, if they just up and ghost you for whatever reason, then you have that knowledge to pick up those steps and carry on the launch without having to press pause or take a break or just completely drop it altogether. I've seen all of it. I've seen so many aspects of the person just left the owner with nothing. They didn't know where to pick up the pieces, and they just dropped it. They missed out on a huge opportunity because of not having that knowledge. So that's what my workshop series is about, and I'm very excited about it. I'm excited to get rolling with it.
So when I add the show notes, whenever you're ready and that workshop goes live, just send me the link so I can add it to the show notes.
Yes, I can send it to you. It's already there.
Sounds great, because I feel like, every business owner needs to have at least some knowledge of this. Like, they can hire a VA, they can hire someone to help them, but they need to know this right off the bat, because that I've seen that, just what you said, with so many of my clients, and I'm like, dude, you need an SOP. Like, I don't even do this because I'm a marketer, but I'm like, working with brands and working with big companies who have project managers, VAs, EAs, all of them. It's just like, you learn a little bit of how that works, and it's like, you need to bring this here, because otherwise this is going to keep happening. But a question that I always ask before closing the podcast is, if there's anything you would like to close with, any tip, anything that you want to say before leaving, and then of course we'll share where they can find you. But if you had to say anything for people listening to you, what would it be?
Goodness. Just keep going. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep pushing to scale, and keep putting yourself out there. The world needs you. They need your knowledge, whether you think they do or not. Everyone has something special to share. They have a passion to share. They have experience to share. So keep sharing. Keep putting everything you got out there, whether it takes a year, 2 years, 10 years. Keep sharing. Doesn't matter if it's through a course, through what your business does. If you're a coach, awesome. If you are wanting to put out a book, an ebook, whatever, continue your legacy. That the world does need you. Some person out there does need you. So.
Love that. Now, where can everyone sorry, where can everybody find you? Where can everybody find you?
So I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. I do have a website. That's pretty in a Threads. I'm on Threads. So that's where I am at.
Yeah, and you can find her in the show notes. I'm going to leave them here. Nikki, thank you for coming and sharing your knowledge.